Hello everyone, POMNI Theory is here, and today we're diving into a fascinating topic. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and click the bell icon to stay updated. Let's get started. Jax is a gray-blue prankster rabbit who has sparked a lot of controversy. Even Caine hasn't become as divisive as Jax. Half of the fans absolutely love him and have already used his phrases in memes, while the other half can't stand him. So, who is Jax? Personally, I immediately dislike this character because of his overly cheeky behavior. It's not because he's brazen and everyone wants to learn from him. Quite the opposite. Jax is generally a bad role model. It's not about his funny phrases, jokes, or even offensive words. He physically bullies the weak and acts as if everything is allowed. I haven't seen a more despicable character in the digital circus. What are your theories about Caine being a villain? Here's Jax, the real villain. But if you really think about it, could Jax turn out to be a true villain? I remind you that only 2 episodes have been released, but we already have a good sense of his character. And so far, we see only the bad in him. Can he get even worse? Will there be a situation in the series where Jax shows himself at his worst and turns out to be a traitor? Let's figure this out. Jax is a tall, smiling hare who is 22 years old. The creators didn't hide the ages of all the characters and revealed them right away. Jax is pretty active, likes to joke, behaves defiantly, and isn't shy about mocking others. It feels like they really want to introduce us to a negative character. However, a large part of the digital circus fans fell in love with him, most likely for his sarcastic nature and sharp tongue. Some might have recognized themselves or their friend in this character, but things are much worse than they seem. And despite his popularity, the creator of the Goosework series himself called Jax an impulsive jerk. And yes, that's exactly how he is portrayed. You might think that he is extremely self-confident, a strong and independent rabbit who doesn't care about anyone else at all. He only cares about himself. But the problem is that he is trapped like the others, and each character apparently has their own mental disorder, which manifests more and more over time. This can't be said about Jax. On the other hand, it seems like he didn't just accept the situation but adapted to it. He realized that he wouldn't get out of this digital circus and would stay inside with these suckers. If there was a way out, we would all have gotten out long ago. Jax clearly considers himself better than the rest. But how is he better? He's just as much of a hostage as the others. Did he react differently to the situation? Maybe. Although he, like the others, has resigned himself and is doing what he can, what about his relationships with the others? Relationships with other characters define any character even better. Jax belittles everyone, teases them in a not-so-friendly way, and generally mocks poor Gangle as much as he can. It's not just about not offending girls. You shouldn't offend anyone. To Jax, Gangle turned out to be the weak link, much like a typical school bully's target. He doesn't care at all how she feels when he pushes her, breaks her mask, or insults her. By the way, have you noticed that he rarely calls anyone by name? More often than not, he gives people mocking nicknames. When he first appears, he calls POMNI a sucker. Well, how would a new sucker get into this new world by accidentally wearing a magic headset? At the same time, he also got into this world, but she's a sucker anyway, and so is everyone else. Gangle is a crybaby and Kinger is a cook. Jax mocks everyone whenever he can, and the characters do not treat Jax well. He seems to be in their company, but he lives separately. They don't try to isolate him. He is among all the others. It's like having a toxic buddy that you have to talk to every day because you're all trapped here. In the digital circus, every character is required to participate in another adventure. Each character must appear in the intro, and they must interact with each other anyway. Jax uses this regularly, and since he has come across such a weak-willed company, he can assert himself as much as he likes at their expense. Now let's consider a rather strange but slightly reasonable theory. Is Jax a villain? It's strange to say that Jax is a villain. Yes, he is an unpleasant person, but to deliberately plot against all the other characters is not his style. Of course, he would be happy to hurt everyone, but only for the sake of his ego. However, there is one detail. Jax has the keys to all the rooms, and he justifies this by saying he has keys to everything. I'm really curious. Where did he get the keys, and why would he need them? I've heard a theory on the internet that Jax is not just a person who got into a game or a digital circus. Jax is a Caine agent who monitors everyone, which is why he behaves so confidently. He already knows what's happening. He reacts relatively calmly to the scattered chaos and doesn't really care what happened to his old, kind friend. Perhaps Jax is not a human at all, but an artificial intelligence, just like Caine. Sometimes he does pretty weird things. For instance, when he went down to the Glow's lair with the others, he knocked out a striker step, then returned and broke a sign. How did he do that? It's digital, like he showed up at the end and started breaking the credits. Well, anything can happen here. Jax is used to such jokes and can sometimes joke this way. After all, he is in the digital world with the others and can break a digital plaque that appeared out of nowhere, like a name. Another point, when the main character POMNI says this is a dream, Jax seems to address the audience, turning to the camera to say, she still thinks it's a dream. It's like he turns to you and speaks to the camera. Such details make you believe that Jax is an agent of Caine. He is also an artificial intelligence, which means that in the end, he may not be who he seems to be. From the very beginning of the pilot's release, there have been theories that Caine is a villain. It may turn out that Jax is exactly the same as Caine, but I'm ambivalent about this theory. I don't think Jax can be a villain. Yes, he behaves like a jerk, but, as I said earlier, every character has their own mental deviation. In Jax, it manifests in self-confidence, insulting others, and belittling others, especially Gangle. He understands that he is not cool, and therefore takes it out on others as best he can. All his jokes and gags are just mental protection. He needs to assert himself at the expense of others. Jax hides behind the mask of a bully, but in reality, he is a vulnerable guy inside. Even in critically dangerous situations, he does not take off this mask, although you can see some emotion on his face. Despite his attitude towards the whole situation, I don't think Jax is such a bad character after all. Remember my words when eventually he is revealed as a mentally ill, vulnerable, and simply hurt person. Who do you think Jax is? Share your opinions in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.